Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Rita and today we're going to be talking about the Women's Health Protection Act of 2021. And let's just dive right into it. This is Bill HR 3755 for this year. And if you have not if you have not looked at this bill, I would highly recommend you go and view the bill. But we're going to talk about it a little bit today and talk about why it is demonic and terrible. It is terrible, and why it has nothing to do with women's health at all. So let's start off. I'll start off by just saying that only Democrats voted on this bill. Only Democrats voted yes, I should say. Only Democrats voted yes on this bill. Not one Republican voted yes on this bill. Although there were two Republicans that sat this one out, and that would be Liz Cheney and Debbie Lesko from Arizona. They sat this one out because, we could just be sitting out, all this stuff going on in the country. It's okay to just sit stuff out. As a matter of fact, a little bit off topic here, but Debbie Lesko has set out a lot of things. A lot of not voting going on for her. But anyway, I digress. So let's get into this bill. So this bill would basically, and it's a short one. It's a short read. So you guys get in here and check it out. Congress.gov. Look up HR 3755 2021. And so this bill would basically make it would be abortion on demand. What do I mean abortion on demand? It would mean whoever, whenever, up to whatever time. So doctors would be able to abort babies, kill babies. I'm probably going to get my video taken down for that, but babies right up until birth. How do I know this? Well, let's read a little bit of it, shall we? So in the first section of this bill, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing, obviously, because that would take us a very long time. So since 1973, the Supreme Court repeatedly has recognized the constitutional right to terminate a pregnancy before fetal viability. Now, keep that term in mind. And to terminate a pregnancy after fetal viability where it is necessary, in the good faith medical judgment of the treating healthcare professional for the preservation of the life or health of the person who is pregnant. Okay, so in the good faith medical judgment of the treating healthcare professional. So doctors get to decide fetal viability. Now, what is viability? What do they mean when they say viability? Because we're going to talk about that, what their definition of viability is. Okay, so it is, here's what it says. The term viability means the point in a pregnancy at which, in the good faith medical judgment of the treating healthcare provider, based on the particular facts of the case before the healthcare provider, there is a reasonable likelihood of sustained fetal survival outside the uterus with or without artificial support. So viability, that means the doctor or healthcare provider has determined that yes, this baby can survive. There is a high probability that this baby will survive with or without oxygen, whatever else, right? Okay, that's viability. So now what they want to do, all of these Democrats who voted for this bill, all but one, I think two of them set out, didn't vote at all, and one actually voted no. But all 218 of the others voted yes, and again, not one Republican. Because this is important that we know who's doing what, because it's all smoke and mirrors before the cameras, right? It's all smoke and mirrors about the politicians get up there and they use all this language that sounds good, but when the rubber hits the road, what's really going on? Like, what's going on behind the curtain? So let's take a look. They're banking on nobody looking at this stuff. That's what they're banking on. They're banking on being able to go in before the media and say whatever they say to their constituents, and nobody really checking to see what's actually happening here. So let's take a look. So they have a whole list here of what they want to eliminate. Restrictions, they say, on abortion for women of color and poor people, which is very interesting to me that they are always trying to peddle this on poor people and Black women. So let me this mess has me heated. So let's take a look here at what they say they want to restrict. So like I said, they have a whole list of what they want to restrict, and it says here one of the things that they want to, they don't, not that they want to restrict, but one of the things that they say that they want to be able to have abortion on demand, and they want to be able to do it without limitations, without requirements. Okay, and they have a whole list of requirements that they want lifted. Let me read to you two of the requirements that they want lifted. A requirement that a limitation on a healthcare provider's ability to provide immediate abortion services when that healthcare provider believes, based on good faith medical judgment of the provider, that delay would pose a risk to the patient's health. Now here's the big one. A prohibition on abortion after fetal viability, when in the good faith medical judgment of the treating healthcare provider, continuation of the pregnancy would pose a risk to the pregnant patient's life or health. And notice this word here, pregnant patient, how they refuse to use the word woman. Yeah. So a prohibition on abortion after fetal viability. What does that mean? So because there's a before fetal viability, before that has been determined, and after. So after fetal viability means that it has been determined that this baby is viable. This baby can survive with or without artificial assistance, right? That's what we read earlier. So they're trying to say that even if the baby can survive on its own, if the mother goes into some kind of shock or whatever happens medically with the mother where they feel like life is in danger in the process of having this baby, they can kill the baby. Now, you think this is far-fetched, but Dr. Ralph Northam, if I'm not mistaken, he's a doctor. I don't know if he's an OBGYN, but he is a doctor. He was in an interview. If you haven't seen this, look it up. He was in an interview, I believe, a year and a half ago, something like that, talking about he believes that a doctor and a patient should be able to determine once the baby has been born, not before, once the baby has actually been born, that a doctor and a patient gets to determine if the baby is viable enough to live. So, let's call it what it is. It's murder. Let's stop calling it abortion. Let's stop calling Ralph Northam. People like him. I guess he would be one of these good faith medical providers that would be able to determine whether or not a baby is viable. Since when do doctors get to determine if a person is viable? Since when do our politicians get to determine who is viable and who is not? So, nowhere in here does it talk about real health concerns. Nowhere in here does it say we really want to focus on ovarian cancer. Oh, we really want to make sure we help women who want to give birth. We help them if they have endometriosis. Like, we want to make sure it mentions briefly in here, but just as a bypass of here's a bunch of health services that, that we think should be available to people. I'm glad they think that should be available, because if you try to go to a Planned Parenthood or one of these clinics, guess what? You won't be able to do. You will not be able to get treatment for endometriosis. They will send you to a real doctor. You will not be able to get treatment for ovarian cancer. They will send you to a real doctor. The list goes on and on. If you want serious health care, Planned Parenthood will not be able to help you, which is interesting to me because they provide, they say that this is a surgical procedure that they're more than happy to provide. But ask yourself why they won't provide other surgical procedures. Ask yourself that question, because that's what needs to be asked, why they're so focused on this. So here is, here are my further thoughts on this. These are the same people. Now you need to think about this, okay? For people who are like, oh no, women's rights, pro-choice, whatever. And this is not for Christian women, because I know Christian women, this is not even an issue. There's no Christian woman out there who should be saying I'm pro-choice. And I'll give two real quick examples of that. Number one, Genesis says that God made man and woman in his image. That's number one. Number two, your body is not your own. 1 Corinthians tells us your body is not your own. Your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit, and your body should be used to glorify God. Now, if you think that this bill glorifies God, then I admonish you to read the Old Testament. Okay, I admonish you to read about all of the people who threw their kids in the fire as a sacrifice to Molech, the god of the day. So anyway, I digress. And let me move on from that before I get too heated up in here. So here's the other thing. This party, this Socialist Democrat Party, because they are not Democrats anymore. They are social or democratic socialists. For these people, these are the same people who voted yes unanimously for the Equality Act. The Equality Act is what got us men in the wee spa exposing himself in front of women and girls. The Equality Act is what got us men beating the daylights out of women in an MMA fight, okay, and in all these other sports, and in the pageants, women winning beauty pageants. The Equality Act that all the Democrats eagerly signed on to was the same thing that has got us men, sex offenders even, being housed in the same cells in prisons with women. This is the same party. The same party who got us all of that, or who brought us that, is the same party who's bringing us this bill that that says, sure, you can kill a baby right up until the time it's born. Oh, if the doctor decides, that it's okay. And by doctor, we mean doctors like Ralph Northam, who believes that we can kill babies even after it's born if it has some kind of genetic defect. So this is just fantastic. So I think it's high time that we are honest with ourselves and that we understand that this nation is no longer a Christian nation, haven't been for a long time. I mean, we have 10, last I checked, states that where euthanasia is legal. Okay? So euthanasia is legal. That should give you some idea of where we are. And of course, those states are, you guessed it, Democrat, socialist states, by and large. No, all of them are, except for the District of Columbia, which isn't a state, obviously, but they also allow euthanasia there. So this should give you some idea that this nation is no longer a Christian nation, and that this is just one more thing that a pagan nation would do. And we need to realize that. I hear a lot of politicians standing up talking about this is a Christian nation. How could we do that? Well, it's not. That's how. It's not. And for all of the speeches and for all of the, debates that our politicians get into, trying to coerce, or not coerce, but trying to convince these people who have these wicked ideologies, trying to convince them that what they're doing is morally reprehensible. They really don't care. And it's kind of like, glassy-eyed, like if you were talking to someone in a cult. Like they hear what you're saying, but it does not compute. So I think the sooner we can grasp that fact that this is not a Christian nation, the better. And then we can proceed forward with how to approach all of these different things, how to approach bills like this women's, fraud of a Women's Health Protection Act. We just need to know that is what is happening. This is who we are dealing with. We are dealing with a pagan nation that loves its pagan rituals like child sacrifice and worshiping earth. That's what we're dealing with. So we just need to continue to shine a light on these things. And yes, I think these conservative politicians do need to continue to push back against this more forcefully. All of these things that are coming down the pike. Yes, we need to continue to expose it. And in addition to that, we need to be praying, because really when you get down to it, this is a heart issue. And at the end of the day, if God doesn't change these people's heart, then they're going to keep pushing these wicked, evil agendas. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Ciao.